guys, you've read the title correctly. It could possibly happen where Travis Scott now could actually be arrested. Hey guys, it's Murad Murali. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Coming to you with daily and consistent content injected. And let's get straight into this video. So, Travis Scott, guys. We all know what's happened. Before I get into this, I want to get into the fit of what I'm wearing today. Of this beautiful robe that I'm wearing. Absolutely gorgeous. And then you just gotta put on the hoodie. Like, this is going to be me just wearing this as Travis and his team get criminally charged. And I'm just nodding my head down like that. No, I'm joking, guys, I'm joking. But still, this fit is amazing. Amazing! Yeah, so the LA Times have come out with a very interesting article, and I want to relay that with you guys. I will also include the article in my bio below so that you guys can read this for yourself. But I think it's a very interesting avenue, and this is what I said, that it's going to take a different turn now, these discussions, think pieces and reflections and updates, because it could now go very serious. Just days after the crowd crush disaster at Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival in Houston, the number of civil lawsuits brought against the organizers have increased well into its double figures. But in addition to the civil claims, concert promotion giant Live Nation, Texas promoter Score More shows, and others, including Travis Scott's team and Travis himself, could face criminal charges and they be filed, and it's just insane. This is primarily a Live Nation problem, but Scott has a lot of accountability here, says Kurt Arnold, a partner with the Houston-based law firm Arnold & Itkin, which represents more than 100 families in this particular lawsuit. It's likely that criminal charges will be brought. I'd be shocked if they weren't. I don't say that lightly, but manslaughter is a possibility. It has to rise to a standard of recklessness in Texas. You have to know of the risk and disregard of it. If someone has too much to drink and kill somebody, there's a similar standard here. Interesting. The penal code, which defines manslaughter in Texas, which I was saying in a previous video, similar to what this is that recklessly causing the death of an individual can be considered as manslaughter. In a statement Thursday, a rep for Scott said over the last week, Travis Scott and his team have been actively exploring routes of connection with each family affected. And that Travis Scott's own lawyers have said that people need to stop pointing fingers as well. Scott has twice pleaded guilty to charges stemming from onstage conduct at concerts, and was also sued for negligence, carelessness and recklessness after a 2017 concert in New York, where a 23-year-old was left paralyzed. 3 fans were also hospitalized at the 2019 Astroworld Festival after overrunning barricades. All the attorneys interviewed by the Times agreed that it would be much more difficult to charge Scott or others connected to the festival criminally, rather than finding them liable in civil lawsuits. Interesting. Although the investigations are in early stages. Live Nation, in a statement Monday, said that it is aiding in the criminal investigation and will address all legal matters at the appropriate time. In 2016, a fire that killed 36 people at the Ghost Ship music venue in Oakland, Derek Almina, the venue's operator, pleaded guilty to 36 charges of manslaughter. Craig Peters, an attorney at Altair Law in San Francisco, who represented the family of the late musician Cash Askew in the Ghost Ship venue fire, said there is certainly a possibility of similar charges for Astroworld. Interesting. It's hard to know what was known and planned before, but this artist seems to have history with fomenting an aggressive crowd. I certainly think there's a possibility he could find himself under the microscope from a criminal perspective. The criminality is what he wants to really avoid. But his past, I said this in the previous video, and it's interesting that this LA Times article is also regurgitating this information, but his past can be used against him, specifically for stuff like this. It's a very high burden of proof for a criminal case. It's not simply negligence. You have to wanton, willful, gross negligence to rise to that. Prior conduct and prior knowledge will be a factor, but just because somebody got injured or killed in a horrific circumstance does not necessarily mean criminal liability. There's a difference between being stupid and being criminally responsible. I want you guys to listen carefully to this particular video. Given that it's rare to see a live performer themselves criminally charged in a concert disaster. Given the trouble he's got into before, Scott could be fined civilly liable for sure. There's potential negligence from not having enough security and medical staff, not setting up safe perimeters, not having escapes or exits, but it's also possible that negligence can rise to the level of involuntary manslaughter. This is when it gets serious. When somebody dies as a result of criminal negligence, there would be criminal liability for Scott or other individuals at these companies. Interesting. Scott's behavior encouraged crowds in the past. If it's so bad that there's an ambulance driving into the crowd, he's putting people into a panic. The question of potentially inadequate security and medical staff will also be at the center of the coming lawsuits. Planning documents for the festival reviewed by the Times cite a number of concerns from terrorism to weather, but do not mention potential crowd surges. Video of the performance shows Scott singing and dancing. In videos where fans can clearly be heard calling for medics, Scott tells the crowd to hoist middle fingers because they are ready to rage. Security, somebody help, jump in real quick, he said at one point, but he played the entirety of his 25-song set. Peter agrees that the cause and responsibility from the crowd are multifaceted. Again, what I've been saying, it's a multifaceted issue. The problem here existed way before the concert started. You should never get to a point where this could have happened. That's security and planning 101. Whatever the charges Scott may or may not face, his career as a top-earning live performer may now be in peril. If you are an offshore oil rig and something's exploding, you shut it down. If you have Live Nation showing up with Travis Scott at an event, maybe that doesn't happen anymore, maybe he's not insurable anymore. This is a bad record. I think it's unlikely you'll see a Travis Scott concert in this form anytime in the future. I think the key word is insurance. You're not insurable anymore. Do you understand? And of course, prevention is better than cure. Prevention is better than, spending a large amount of money because things might go really bad, and therefore he might become insurable. However, this idea of negligence and the fact that things could have stopped beforehand, which has been supported by the police audio communications that have now been revealed, that this all could have been prevented, can lead to criminal convictions. Now, whether Travis Scott could be criminally convicted is a whole different issue. I personally think it will be unlikely, but it's definitely a possibility. It definitely can happen. They are at the early stages of the investigation, and of course he can be arrested for this entire situation. His team can be arrested, and these police audio communications reveal that of course him and his team knew and were told, but continued on with the set. You're recklessly playing knowing that people are in danger. It does go along the line of the definition of manslaughter for Texas when it comes to the penal code of it. So, one can argue that. But realistically, I always go with a realistic approach. I don't see him going to jail only because the guy has a lot of money that, and I just feel like, you can just post bail or some capacity or whatever. But who knows? Because it definitely looks like that, especially with the recent audio communications being revealed and the timeline being revealed from the police. It definitely is not looking good for Travis in that way. It's not. And, I feel like this LA Times article was very interesting, and I thought that, it should be referenced because, he potentially could face criminal charges. Whether he's going to jail for that is a different situation, but, he definitely isn't insurable for, or going to be for a long time. And even in other crowds and even in other, situations, people are worried. People don't want that same reception. So it's become a viral tragedy. And I'm talking about arrests, and the police come and do what you need to do. Right, guys, so let me know what your thoughts are when it comes to this video. I told you I want to stay on top of the story as much as I can. It's progressing a lot, and I'm trying to give you guys a lot of updates on this matter. But it does look like, conviction of manslaughter could take place because they have in previous bad tragedies related to concerts before. Subscribe, guys. Click that button if you haven't already. I'm coming to you with it's literally constant content. I have a headache whilst I'm doing this video, guys, but I'm coming to you with so much content every single day. So click that button. It's fresh content, and I'll catch you guys soon for another video.